Welcome back to Medical Monday right here on News Channel 5+. I'm Casey Mason, hanging out with Dr. David Gnewikow. We have had a great conversation so far, and we appreciate you being here tonight. A lot of things we want to talk about, but you also brought in something for us to see. Sure.
So we were talking before the break about kind of some different options, and I happen to have right here, if you look at this option here, this is what we're talking about with a lyric, and that is what I was describing as an extended wear hearing aid. I'll try to get where you can see this. This is actually how deep in the ear canal that goes.
Wow.
I mean, so again, you could look in the side of the ear and not see that device at all. It is, I won't say permanent, but it is extended wear. So again, you're wearing it for 8 to 10 weeks at a time. You look at that and think, now, is that comfortable? And it actually is. I've worn one just to kind of test it and play with it. We have patients that wear it and they will not wear anything else once they kind of get used to that device. So extended wear, shower, sleep, everything, don't have to mess with hearing aids at all. Recently had a guy that was 18, graduating from high school. You can imagine the teenage boy, very, very sensitive about his hearing. His dad said, can we try something like that? Loved it. He can wear his earbuds, iPod. He can listen to music. There we go. Doesn't interfere. He can sleep. He can go on a date, and his girlfriend, his date, doesn't know that he has those in. So that's a really neat option. The second option right here, I bring this out. There's nothing terribly fancy about this, except this is a rechargeable option. And so for years, we've had hearing aids that you had to open and close and change the battery. This is the charger. So when I get done wearing it, all I do is put it in the charger, next day get up and use it. And again, we talked about easy. Rechargeable is easy. Everything we have today is rechargeable. I charge my phone, I charge my watch, I charge my iPad, I charge everything. Hearing aids are no different. You can charge for 2 hours and wear them for 30 hours of use. And so it's just something that's simpler. A lot of people come in and say, for years I've been struggling with batteries. I have to go buy them, I have to change them. They go out at the most inopportune moment, and this sort of solves that problem. So that's been a real neat thing that's come on the market in the last couple years that's been a big benefit for a lot of people.
Yeah, let's say we have some folks tuning in tonight and they are listening to what we're saying. Either they or someone they know is starting to experience some trouble with hearing loss. First of all, how do you have that conversation with someone in a sensitive matter? And walk us through what happens after they make the call to your practice.
Sure. Well, I guess they say the first step is admitting you have a problem in a lot of different areas of life. And so having that discussion, most of the time, quite honestly, the person with the hearing loss knows. I mean, I won't say that 100% of the time, but most of the time, you know, they realize that they're bumping the TV up a little bit more. They realize that they're missing conversation. For a while, it's you were mumbling, and now I'm beginning to accept, okay, maybe everybody is not mumbling. It's a hard discussion to have. In fact, in the United States, the average time from when somebody identifies themselves as having hearing loss until they're sitting in my office is 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
So there's a lot of denial that happens, and that's one of the reasons I come on the show to say, you know, there are easy and comfortable and helpful ways to solve this problem that you don't have to put it off for 5 to 7 years. But people ask me that question all the time. How do I get my mom? How do I get my husband? How do I get my dad to come see you? I usually tell them the very best thing you can do is sit down with an expert and have that discussion. At our practice, Advanced Hearing Solutions, we see people at no charge for that first visit, because you have to have a chance to come in and interview us. Does this guy really know what he's talking about? Does my doctor, can we understand the problem? And I look at that part of my job is I need to interview you and understand what parts of your life are you really struggling? What's actually brought you to this point? Is it your wife dragging you in, or are there really some points of frustration, embarrassment, and those things tend to happen? And so usually if you can get somebody in and we just have that conversation, there's no pressure. There's no, you need to buy something. It's let me explain what's happening, and if you need help, let me explain what we can do to help. Most of the time people walk in kind of cautious, kind of skeptical, and by the time we've talked for an hour or so, whether they decide to try something or not, they leave a lot more educated about what that problem is.
Yeah, it's really important to share that again, a free consultation with your practice.
Absolutely no charge. Come in and talk to myself or one of our audiologists, and we'll explain the problem and tell you how we can help.
That's wonderful. What are some other signs that people kind of start to notice? I heard you once say, you know, it's really not so much being able to hear, but maybe mistaking words for other words.
Exactly. So people think of hearing loss as, I just can't hear sound. It's more, I don't understand words. And so a lot of people will put off, say, well, I can hear the train whistle, you know, I can hear better than my husband can for certain sounds. Most of the time what people experience is what's called a high-pitched or high-frequency hearing loss. High-frequency hearing loss doesn't take away volume, it takes away clarity. It takes away consonant sounds, S's and T's and K's and F and TH. So it's more a problem of, well, did she say feet or teeth? Did he say ball or fall? Did he say girl or twirl? Not, I didn't hear what you said at all, or I didn't hear any sound coming out. We hear the louder part of the word, we miss that softer, high-pitched part of the word. So to answer your question, how do you know? Those type of confusions, lack of clarity, it tends to show up first in harder situations. What do I mean by harder? Background noise in a restaurant, children's voices, softer voices, female voices that are more high-pitched tend to be the first places that we notice some of these things. Okay, I'm in my 40s, that's all I'm going to say. I'm in my 40s, and a lot of my friends who have done loud stuff like me their whole lives are like, you know, I do fine 99% of the time, but boy, when I'm in a restaurant with a client, or, you know, if I'm at that business meeting and there's background noise, that's where it shows up first most of the time.
Yeah, any tips on how to approach that conversation with someone?
Just being honest, yeah, and being caring in it. You know, this is not about me, you know, fussing at my wife or my dad or my mom. It's about, think how we can make your life better. That's really how I try to bring all this conversation. I don't even like the word hearing loss, because hearing loss implies that we're losing something. I want to talk about what gains that we can make for people. The word I hear in my office almost every day, two words: frustration and embarrassment. So you guys watching this know this story. After a while, it gets too embarrassing for me to ask you to repeat, so I just kind of quit listening, or I just kind of nod and grin, or I miss the punchline and that's embarrassing. Or I answer a question that somebody else just answered because I didn't hear that. Or it's a frustration, and I'm not a marriage counselor, but some days I feel like that, because a spouse, husband and wife will have this conversation, be like, he's really trying, he's just missing part of what you say. That is a huge frustration on both sides, because she's trying as hard as she can for him to hear her, he's trying as hard as he can to hear, but something's missing right there. So
not a matter of selective hearing.
Well, that does exist, but we're not going to talk about that one tonight. But no, most of the time it's not that. It's, I'm really trying to hear what you said, but because there was background noise going on, I missed it. Or I'm really trying to hear what you said, but I missed that first consonant sound, and that made it a lot more difficult. So if you always approach, and this is true for many aspects of life, if you approach it from, I want to help you, what can we do to make your life better? What can we do to limit your frustration? What can we do to make you more involved? I think that's always a way to start that conversation.
And we've had Dr. Gnewikow on the show before, and tonight we really wanted to focus the topic on this new technology, the things that are taking place. There's even an app for that. I mean, it's incredible how far we've come. You've been in this field for 20 years now. What have you seen that has surprised you? What have you noticed that is just really, just like to share with folks tonight?
Okay, so just a few things that are more recent. We talked about the rechargeable option. We talked about an extended wear. I briefly mentioned Bluetooth. So most of you guys know what Bluetooth is, but Bluetooth just means it's a wireless connection. I can print from my phone in the other room. That's a Bluetooth connection. Well, I can connect my hearing aids to Bluetooth devices, such as my iPhone or an iPad or a computer or a television, and basically the hearing aids become wireless headphones. And so got guys that travel for business all the time. They're driving, rather than worry with Bluetooth or listen in their car, tap a button or use their phone, the audio comes directly into the hearing aids. Do the same thing with the television. So if I prefer to have that TV volume up a little bit more because I have some hearing loss, my wife can set it on 10. I have independent control through my hearing aids of the volume that I'm listening to the television.
Incredible.
I can pull it up on an app and say, okay, well, I'm going in a restaurant and I'm going to choose my restaurant background noise setting and click that before I go into the restaurant, or I can turn my volume up. Or if I don't want to listen, I can turn my volume down. We're not going to do that. But yeah, all of that connectivity is probably a really big step that I won't say a lot of people didn't expect, but I will say it's gone so far so fast. We can do so much with that, and that continues to evolve.
And what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I have seen so many people, I see a lot of people that say, I don't necessarily need that. I do pretty well, and that's fine. It's not for everybody, and certainly I'm not saying everybody that has a hearing aid has to be able to control it with an app. I think simple is good, and a lot of people don't use that. But I have had people, again, I like to tell stories. One guy jumps to mind. He's in his 30s. He's a gamer. So, professional, has a great job. He said, but I'm an 18-year-old at heart. I hope he's watching this. He goes, I love to play video games online. And he said, I could never hear without blasting my family out. He said, this Bluetooth has actually changed my life. It's the best thing I've ever done for my hearing, because he can watch TV and be involved in the things that he enjoys doing without disturbing the rest of his family. He said, my TV can be all the way off and I can do everything that I want to do. So it's not for everybody. When you say, what do I think about it? It's not a one-size-fits-all. Not everybody that walks into our office needs to be connected to phones and televisions, but it is a tool that we have in our toolbox that can really help people that need it.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, just helping your way of life with technology. But like you said earlier in the show, technology is great, but it's how you use it, and that's something that you definitely help your patients with every single day.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take another quick break. Feel free to call us anytime throughout the show tonight. We'd love to hear from you and your questions. Number right there on your screen, and we will keep it right here on News Channel 5 Plus.